The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 36, Part 2. April 20th, 1938. How Jesus on the cross still cries to every heart, I thirst. How the true resurrection consists in rising in the divine will. How nothing is denied to one who lives in it. My flight in the divine will continues, and I feel the need to make all that it has done my own, placing there my little love, my affectionate kisses, my profound adorations, and my thank you for everything it did and suffered, for me and for all. As I reached the point at which my dear Jesus was crucified and lifted on the cross amid atrocious agonies and unspeakable pains, with heart-breaking tenderness and compassion, he told me, my good daughter, the pain that most pierced me on the cross was my ardent thirst. I felt I was burning alive. All the vital humors had gone out through my wounds, which, like many mouths, were burning and wanted to quench their ardent thirst. So much so that, unable to contain myself, I cried out, I thirst. This I thirst remained, and is always in the act of saying, I thirst. I never stop saying it. With my open wounds, with my parched lips, I am always repeating, I am burning. I thirst. Oh, please, give me a little drop of your love, to give a little refreshment to my ardent thirst. So in everything the creature does, I keep repeating with my mouth opened and burned, let me drink. I am burning of thirst. My dislocated and wounded humanity had only one cry, I thirst. Therefore, as the creature walks, I cry out to her steps with my parched mouth, give me your steps, done for love of me, to quench my thirst. If she works, I ask for her works, done only for love of me, as refreshment for my ardent thirst. If she speaks, I ask for her words. If she thinks, I ask for her thoughts, like many little drops of love, to refresh my ardent thirst. It was not just my mouth that was burning, but all of my most holy humanity felt the extreme need of a refreshing bath for the ardent fire of love that burned me. And since it was for the creatures that I was burning in excruciating pains, only creatures with their love could quench my ardent thirst and give a refreshing bath to my humanity. Now I left this cry, I thirst, inside my will, and I made the commitment to make creatures hear it in every instant, to move them to compassion for my ardent thirst, to give them my bath of love and receive theirs, be it even just little drops, as refreshment for the thirst that devours me. But who listens to me? Who has compassion for me? Only one who lives in my will. All the others play deaf. and maybe increase my thirst with their ingratitude, making me restless and with no hope of refreshment. And not only I thirst, but all that I did and said in my will is always in the act of saying to my sorrowful mother, Mother, behold your children, and I place her at their side as help and guide, to be loved by her children. Every instant she feels she is being placed at the side of her children by her son. And oh, how she loves them as mother, and gives them her maternity, to make me loved as she loves me. Not only this, but by giving her maternity, she places perfect love among the creatures, so that they may love one another with maternal love, which is sacrificing, unselfish, and constant love. But who receives all this good? Only one who lives in our Fiat feels the maternity of the Queen. One can say that she places her maternal heart into her children's mouths, that they may suckle and receive the maternity of her love, the sweetnesses, and all the qualities with which her maternal heart is enriched. My daughter, one who wants to find us, one who wants to receive all our goods, and my very mother, must enter our will and remain in it. Our will is not only our life, but with its immensity it forms our residence around us, in which it keeps all our acts, words, and all that we are, always in act. Our things do not go out of our will. One who wants them must be content with carrying out her life together with it, and then everything is her own. Nothing is denied to her. If we want to give our things to her, but she does not live in our will, she will not appreciate them, nor love them. She will not feel the right to make them her own. And when things are not made one's own, love does not arise. It dies. After this, I continued my round in all that our Lord did on earth, and I stopped in the act of resurrection. What triumph! What glory! Heaven poured itself upon earth to be spectator of such a great glory. My beloved Jesus said, My daughter, in my resurrection, the right was given to creatures to rise again in me to new life. It was the confirmation, the seal of my whole life, my works, and my words. If I came on earth, it was to give to each and every one my resurrection as their own, to give them life, and make them rise again in my own resurrection. But do you want to know where is the real resurrection of the creature? Not in the end of her days, but while she is still living on earth. One who lives in my will rises again to light and says, My night is over. She rises again in the love of her Creator, so that there is no more cold or snow for her, but the smile of the heavenly spring. She rises again to sanctity, which puts to rushed flight all weaknesses, miseries, and passions. She rises again to all that is heaven, and if she looks at the earth, heaven, and sun, she does it to find the works of her Creator, to take the opportunity to narrate to him his glory and his long love story. Therefore, one who lives in my will can say, as the angels said to the holy women on the way to the sepulchre, "He is risen. He is not here any more." One who lives in my will can also say, "My will is not with me any longer. It is risen again in the Fiat." And if the circumstances of life, opportunities, and sufferings surround the creature as if they were looking for her will, she can answer, "My will is risen again. It is not in my power any more. I possess in exchange the divine will, and I want to cover with its light all things around me, circumstances and sufferings, to make them like many divine conquests." The soul who lives in our will finds life in the acts of her Jesus, and our operating, conquering, triumphant will always runs in her. She gives us so much glory that heaven cannot contain it. Therefore, live always in our will. Never leave it, if you want to be our triumph and our glory. Fiat. April 26th, 1938. The sign that the divine will reigns in the soul is the need to love it incessantly. The great evil of not doing good in the divine will. The little flame, fed by the great light of God. My poor mind runs, flies in the divine Fiat, and if I don't do this, I feel restless, with no strength, no food, no air to breathe. I feel as if I had no feet to walk, no hands to work, no heart to love. So I need to run in the will of the divine Fiat to find its acts, shaping with these acts feet that run, hands that operate and enclose everything, a love beyond heart, fed by eternal love, to love unceasingly. But while I was thinking all this nonsense, my always adorable Jesus, coming for his short little visit, pleased by my nonsense, all love said, "My blessed daughter, don't be surprised by your nonsense. This is what happens. One who lives in my will leaves her own being and will by entering mine. She uses our works to form the new members needed to live within it. Therefore, she acquires new steps, motion, and love to be able to identify herself with our works and to let my will reign and dominate in her soul. This is the continuous motion of love. And since she knows that this love and these works are unceasing, she multiplies them, giving them to me to love me. What does she do then? She enters the endless fields of my will, sees the great theater of creation, the splendor and magnificence of the love that invades all creatures. She runs from work to work, picking up all the love that we spread through our creation, gathers it on her lap, and comes before our Majesty to give us the many different varieties of love that we placed there. Then she plays her love song with the various notes of our creative love. Oh, what a joy we receive from the feasts starting between heaven and earth, and the oceans of love with which she surrounds our throne. Then, after celebrating the feast of all creation, to love us more and with double love, she goes from our throne to all created things, spreading our doubled love on them, and by the power of our will, which she possesses, she makes everybody say, "Love, love to our Creator." The soul who lives in our will is really like a continuous feast for us, the pouring out of our love. Then he added with a note of sadness, "My daughter, how the creature sinks to the bottom when she does not live in our will. Even if she does good, lacking the light of our will, the strength of our sanctity and its effects, this good remains covered by smoke, blinding and producing self-esteem, pride, and love of self. It remains poisoned, unable to produce any real benefit for anybody. Poor good works without my will. They are like bells with no sound, coins without the image of the king, which have no value as money. At the most, they turn into self-satisfaction. Many times I am forced for love of the creatures to embitter the good they do, so that they enter themselves and try to operate truly and generously. On the other hand, for the one who lives in our will, there is no danger that the smoke of self-esteem may enter even the greatest works she may do. She is the little flame fed by the great light that is God, and the light knows how to get rid of the darkness of passion, the smoke of self-esteem. Being light, she really knows that all the good she does is done by God Himself, operating within her nothingness. And if this nothingness has not been completely emptied of all that does not belong to God, God will not descend into it to make great works worthy of Him. Therefore, not even humility can enter our will. Only nothingness, knowing to be nothing. All the good that enters it is only divine work. God who brings God. In my will, everything changes for the creature. She is nothing other than the little light which has to absorb, as much as she can, the great light of my Fiat, so that she may be fed only by light, love, goodness, and divine sanctity. What an honor to be fed by God! So it is no wonder that, being the creature, the little flame of God, he also feeds himself with it. Then he added, on top of the unceasing love, there is another sign that the soul lives in my will. This sign reigns inside the soul, the immutability, never moving from good to evil. This can only be of God. A firm, constant character, hard to change in its action. The constancy that only a divine patience can have. Always to repeat an act without ever getting tired. Never being bothered. Never regretting. It is only of God. Now, one who lives in our Fiat feels her immutability and is invested by such firmness that she would never change her action, not for heaven and earth. She would rather die than stop doing and redoing what she does. Furthermore, everything she does with a firm heart, without ever changing, had its origin in God. So she feels God in her act, and in repeating it. She feels that act flowing, and her action animated by God Himself. How can she ever stop doing what she started together with our Supreme Being? She would have to get out of our will to change action. Our will is unchanging in its works, and it renders so whoever lives in it. Oh, when one does not live in it, how clearly it shows. Today she wants to do something, tomorrow something else. One time she likes to make a sacrifice, another time she runs away from it. One cannot trust her. She is like a stem that bends, following the wind of her passions. The mutability of human will is such that it reaches the point of making the creature its own toy, and perhaps even a toy for the demons themselves. This is why I call the creature to live in our will, to be sustained and strengthened, so that she can give honor to our creative work, since only man is voluble, while all our other works never change. Heaven's place is always fixed, never tiring of its extension. The sun always runs its course, and never changes action in giving light to the earth. The air is always ready to be breathed. All things stay the same and keep doing the same action, the way we created them. Only man, by not wanting to live in our divine will, clashes with the modes of his Creator. He cannot finish his works, so he cannot love or appreciate them. Neither can he receive credit for them. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 36, Part 2. Fiat.